Hi everyone, I hope you're doing amazing. Today the subject is going to be about how when we go through conscious change, when we're choosing to change to become a different version of us, we're going to go through a lot of phases and we have to give ourselves grace when we are going out of what we think we should be at different moment in time, and understand that every new day bring a new opportunity, a new awareness, and a new details that we want to focus on. That the moment we expect that everything gonna stay the same and we're gonna stay consistent the same way to accomplish something is when we're gonna give ourselves like too much to handle at once, and we're gonna judge ourselves, and we're gonna always look at where we are and are we closer to our goals. And when in doubt that what we're doing is in purpose with what we want, we will want to go back to what was working before. And working before in a state like it was a different version of us with less awareness, and it was giving us ourselves a sense of purpose, a sense of fulfillment, a sense of happiness. And we like, after a while we might feel like discouraged and we might doubt why we have take certain decision and want to revisit them. And there's nothing wrong by revisit them. Sometimes we have to go through that step to realize that we made the right decision. Our past version of us made the right decision for our future self, but the future self, which is now, is not used to that. It's not used to being uncertainty, and it's not used to encourage itself by itself and not use external things to pull that energy out of you. And it's new, it's uncomfortable, and you in a constant worry that you might do something wrong. And you always think in the back of your mind, if it worked before, why it will not work again? We have to keep in mind that we went through a pandemic. We went through one of the biggest phenomenon that our generation ever got through. Everything changed. Our mindset changed. The way we were seeing certain things changed. We see more truth. We see more what certain system had as intention. So not everything is the same. Maybe the hardship, the uncertainty, the doubt, the shame, the guilt that you're going through right now is in purpose to what you're gonna be in another future. How maybe you're gonna be somebody that's gonna help people to go through that transition between mindset, people that want to change for themselves by their own perception of what they want to implement in their day-to-day life to make that change happen. When you're not used to have a routine, when you're not used to have time, to have space, to have freedom, it feels uncomfortable. There's a part of you that's been practicing a way of being for a long time. So we cannot expect that in 2 months you're gonna shift completely your paradigm and you're gonna shift completely your reality. But every single day is mattered, and every single day is compiling to a bigger picture. Maybe before we were having like fast result because we were coming from a place of like giving more than what we have to get maybe half of that, and we were feeling satisfied because it was better than nothing. And now we don't have that perspective anymore. We know the feeling of feeling satisfied, and even if you try again to do the same thing, you will not feel the same. And you will either judge yourself of why now I'm bougie about how I'm receiving energy from other people, or why I'm bougie about what are my expectations towards certain things. It's not being bougie. You change. Your awareness change, and your expectation change, your boundary change, your limitation change. And sometimes your level of awareness and your level of vibration is not matching most people around you. You're not in an environment where you're gonna see a lot of people that has the same vibration as you, the same awareness, the same focus as you. And that's okay. That doesn't mean that what you're doing is wrong. You might find people that are similar to you on the internet, and that's why that's a beautiful tool. You're gonna find them on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram, and you're gonna, in those moments, you're gonna have reassurance about what you're doing. You're gonna be like, okay, I'm not the only one taking like this. I'm not the only one going through those things. But when you are in your reality and you navigate your environment, you might find a lot of resistance, and you might find yourself trying to convince people that your way makes sense to you and the way doesn't make sense to you anymore. And in that attempt of convincing, you might get frustrated and doubting yourself because their way of thinking is from another perspective, and your way of thinking is another one, and there's not one that's better than the other. But when you are the pioneer of a new age, it gets lonely, it gets frustrating, and you have to be extremely patient. Patience has been the theme of the last 2 years, and I was not somebody that was really patient. It was all or nothing. If I wanted something, I wanted it fast, I wanted it now, I wanted it in all the quantity. There was no balance, there was no restriction, thinking about it, seeing the benefit in long term. There was none of that. It was, I want this now, and I'm not gonna look at the consequences, and if there's consequences, I will overlook it because I don't have time. I'm always busy, I'm always doing something, I'm always distracted, so I don't have time to really experience the downside of any of my decision. But now that maybe you're in another age, and where you celebrate, where you harvest your solitude, where you're focusing on your internal well-being instead of your external validation, it feels different. A part of you gonna be tempted to go the whole way, because the whole way, it worked before, it worked many times before, but suddenly you try to do it and it's not that you become less. It's not because you have less like abilities than other people. It's not working for you. It's like asking somebody that has a master degree if they want to go to kindergarten. It's not gonna work. It's like you could, but in your purpose and the bigger scheme of things that we have no idea what it is about, it might not be where you're supposed to be. And where we are not is for a reason. We always think that we can anticipate and have a reason why we're not somewhere, and we should force things to happen for ourselves. But if I go for the example, before the quarantine, everybody had plans. We could have forced with all the willpower we wanted. When they say that everybody had to stay home, there's nothing that you could do about it. No amount of willpower, no amount of money, no amount of like wishing for it, working hard for it will have made those things happen, because it's a bigger shame than only you. For you to go from point A to point B, there's a lot of things involved. It's not just your own willpower. There's the transportation, the people driving the transportation, the people opening the door, closing the door, the people making the registration, the people taking care of you, like hosting you. There's all those things that comes to like traveling from one point to the other point, and that's just examples. So when something is not happening, you're gonna be just like, it's just about me not doing enough. There's a big chain of things that has to be there with you for that thing to happen the way that is the most in alignment with who you are. You can force it to happen and get yourself more in trouble because you're forcing things against the grain. If something breaks, sometimes it's a benediction. Example, if your car breaks, sometimes it's a benediction, because if you were forcing yourself to drive, if you were not having that sign of the universe that maybe you should take the bus for a week, maybe you will have went into an accident, maybe something will have happened that you could not understand why, but it's just the way for the universe to slow you down. And at some point it's not, everything will unfold the way it is, because everything is here to make you experience something. It's not about just you and what you want for what reason. It is, you're here to experience something. It's like, if you think of your soul before all this, maybe your soul has pushed a button for a specific experience that you don't know about. And yes, we have free will, but there's always like a line of conduct where everything feels effortless. and other things where we feel there's a lot of resistance and we feel all over the place. And we feel we're taking decisions out of fear, out of doubt, out of wanting to fit to whatever other people are doing. And there's a path where it's not something that you can anticipate, it's not something that you can predict how it's gonna happen, but you know that every time you follow that path, you get more surprises. And it might be a road that's not as glamorized than another person's road. But what is better, to prove somebody that you're in the right path or to be on the right path? Right? For me, it's to be on the right path. Like, I'd rather be on the right path and it looks like a mess than to be in a path that looks great but to feel like a mess. So when we change, when we reconditioning our mind, we have to give ourselves space, and we have to acknowledge that it will be a constant work of repeating to ourselves what we know about ourselves. When you're not used to be accountable, when you're not used to prepare things for your future self and your future self to be grateful for what your past self has done, there's a disconnection sometimes. It's like if you used to be a victim and always wait for something outside of you to tell you should do something, it can feel like uncomfortable to tell yourself to do something just because you feel like it's gonna help you and nobody else should tell you that. It might feel lonely to know that nobody has power over you anymore, and you can decide for yourself what you'd rather do in certain situations, how you'd rather react, how you rather interact, what you pour your energy in. Before, you thought that everything was like a threat that you had to protect yourself by arguing and being mean and being angry. And now you're not doing that anymore. You're shutting your mouth and you're actually listening to other people's perspective, and you're letting know your perspective, your boundary, your expectations. If you never did that before, don't think that it's just gonna change from just out of the blue. You're gonna become that perfection. You can have all the theory in the world, you can have studied all the speakers, all the motivational like people, you could have like learn all of this, read all the books, and it's still gonna miss that practice of when you are faced with that situation. Are you gonna remember all those things, or you just gonna let your emotions speak first? And that's the weakness of most humans. We let our emotion that dictate what we want to do in the moment, and we feel like because I feel something, somebody has to take charge of my emotion. When you change paradigm, when you change age, when you open your mind to a new way of doing things, you acknowledge that you want to deal with your emotion. You don't want to just project on other people just because you feel something. It is to you to, take care of. And being great, being good, being smart is not about being right all the time. It's not about being right at all. It's about acknowledging what you want to believe in, letting people believe what they want to believe, and when there's like a disagreement, to know if it's worth for you to even want to prove your point. Why are we trying so hard to prove our point? What is like the satisfaction of having somebody say you're right? If they don't want to believe it, it's not to you to explain to them and to show them proof. We can get so trapped in like, no, I want you to understand what it matters to me. Some people don't care. So your amount of trying to convince them of why what you think is better is not gonna change anything about their life. Their life can go perfectly fine without them believing what you believe. So do the same. You don't need to believe everything that you see. You don't need to take everything that you see as the only facts. Like, we can mesh everything together and realize that at the end of the day, we know better for ourselves than anything outside of us. And we can use everything outside of us to give us a point of view about ourselves. But again, it's not all or nothing. It's like mixing things, experiencing things, seeing how we react towards things and how things unfold for us. So changing is a scary thing. Changing creates a lot of resistance. When you're used to being one way, there's a lot of people that relate to that way, that is attached to that way because this is how you've been connected to certain people and certain things before, and it was meaningful in that point of time. But when you're changing paradigm, if you always already looking in the back and feeling like maybe what you choose for yourself is not worthy of you to experience, you see what you're doing. You're saying like, what I want for myself is not good enough because I'm not experiencing the same thing that I was experiencing in the past. Who said that you want to experience the same thing in the past? And who say what you experienced in this past was the best thing you could ever experience? Every day is a reminder. I forget easily, and I write every day. I talk to myself every day. I meditate every day. I do so many things that will make me believe that I should know better for myself. But sometimes our emotion, the experience, the things happening around us make us forget all of that. And we go into survival mode, we go into victim mode, and it's nothing bad about being in that place. And maybe you need to be in that place many times to realize that it is a choice and it's not a necessity. That you can be in that place as long as you want. You can use that place to make your whole week, your whole day, your whole month go into like a depressive mode, or you can give yourself some loose, but at some point be your own parent, be your own cheerleader, being your own healer, being your own God, and wake yourself and give yourself the best shot and give yourself the best thing to feel good about yourself, and be satisfied by that. And I experienced that today, the beginning of my day and the end of my day, two different people. I could have used the beginning of my day to make me just don't do anything all day and just give me excuses all day and say why and doubt myself and say nothing's matter anyways. And I had that moment in the beginning of the day, and I expressed it, live it, cry about it, and then at the end of the day I did something in the middle that made me feel involved without having to be in my head, and at the end of the day I feel better about myself, and now I'm filming a YouTube video. It could have been something completely different. I could have used everything in the book to make me be really in the low vibration all day, but I did not, and that's a win for me. This win like that, and this moment where nothing makes sense and we need to grieve the fact that we don't understand what we're doing, we don't understand what we want, we don't understand where we're going. And then after that, to be like, I want to commit myself to something, and while committing ourselves to something, to see how to balance different things about yourself. And even more if you're a woman and we're not in a 24-hour schedule. We have a whole month where our hormones and our mind and our physical appearance shift and change and drop, and is this so much happening? And right now I'm learning to like monitor each week looks like what, each month looks like what, because sometimes I'm forcing myself to be a way when it's not supposed to be that way, and sometimes I judge myself to be a certain way when it's meant to be that way during that time. So the more you learn, the more you know, but as you know, you have to practice saying that to yourself when it happens. Not only in theory in your head, when it happens in real life that you're confronted by your own past conditioning, to have like that compassion, to have that patience, and to have that faith and that purpose, that you know that ultimately you have a vision, ultimately you have a plan for yourself of what you want to commit your time to, and this only is good enough. This only is good enough. And don't rush into doing anything that feels similar to the past yet. Do the new things first. Focus on the new things first. Feel secure on the new things first. And if at the end of the road you feel like you did something wrong, you didn't do anything wrong. You will be a new person in a few months. Then even if you try to do exactly what you were doing in the past, you will be a better person for it. But sometimes put your focus forward. Put your focus in the new, in the refreshing, in the aligning, in the resonance, and be confident that it is all to play. It comes all to play. And yeah, I feel that's what I want us to say tonight. So I'm wishing and sending you all good energy, and see you for our next video.